So I've got two daughters and a son, and it's 2022, mid-January. Welcome to our first episode of our podcast, Beyond Wisdom. Now, just an introduction. My name is Arnold Paulos. So today we've talked about setting goals and using acronyms of FISH to start with, and then you could create your own from now on. Because I remember being able to go and teach you guys that, just knowing that you guys were able to do that and setting goals that way. And then the other one would be F.O.R.M, F.O.R.M, and being able to go ahead and then talk to people and then converse with them and then be interested in people and then be self-aware of yourself. In 2022, I've got two daughters here.
I'm Randy.
I'm Rhea.
So I've got two daughters and a son, and it's 2022, mid-January. Welcome to our first episode of our podcast, Beyond Wisdom. Now, just an introduction. My name is Arnold Paulos, and like everybody in my age group, a baby boomer, and then I've got two daughters with me today starting our podcast. One of them is Miranda Paulos, who is...
Miranda Paulos. Randy Paulos.
Randy Paulos, she wants to be called Randy Paulos. And she is 24 years old.
Correct.
And Rhea Paulos,
Hello, Rhea.
with her Rhea.
Her Rhea brand.
But just call me Rhea. Yeah.
So 22 years old. So you've got two who I would call millennials, right? Mm-hmm. And so now, what are we doing with our podcast? If I have to introduce what I do, well, I've been a dentist for 30 years. And so when you're looking at kids, and when we're looking at kids, we are always looking at 16 to 25-year-olds when they have their wisdom teeth. And when they start having to go to the dentist, and the dentist will say, well, you need to have your wisdom teeth pulled out. The parents, the kids are the one that has to make that choice of do they need to get pulled out? The wisdom teeth, do they need to get pulled out? So now I'm thinking we're going to start our podcast based on that, based on young adults when they get their wisdom teeth pulled out. And this is a podcast about beyond that wisdom teeth being pulled out. That's how I came up with that name. But sometimes my kids here, they're going to go ahead and start laughing, and they're saying, like, that doesn't even make sense.
Is it Beyond Wisdom Teeth podcast or Beyond Wisdom podcast?
I think after a while, you guys will know when you reach a certain age. You reach a certain age because you've gotten a lot of experience. The wisdom comes not necessarily with the things you learn from school, but the things that you learn throughout the time that you are actually living and experiencing. Mm-hmm. So most of the things that you guys are doing now, I know that you've asked me so many things in the past, and what is it that you can do? If you remember, the first thing that we were teaching you guys were how to set goals. And that's what's going on now with 2022, brand new year 2022. We're mid-January. And so this is the time when everybody starts to put that goal in place. And do you guys remember when we used to put goals in place? I used to teach you guys an acronym. Mm-hmm. And the way that I made it so easy for you to remember was FISH, F-I-S-H. Now, if you were wondering what that stands for FISH, F, family, having goals for your family. I, for, you remember what that was? Investment. Now, we were doing this when you guys were small. And the reason why I was doing that was because if you remember, we would go to Christmas, and during Christmas time, you would get Christmas presents, and most of the Christmas presents you would get from relatives would be money, mm-hmm. right? And so what I want to make sure that you guys do is not necessarily spend that money that you got for Christmas, but being able to save it or invest it. And then so I was teaching investment as the I, and the S would be school, because now after the new year starts and you've already gone through the first part of that school year, and then now you're going into, after Christmas, the next part, the second half of the school year. Now you want to make sure that you put in goals as to what grades would you like to get, right? So if you remember, you want to make sure that you put in goals as to how many hours you'd be studying, what grades you're going to get. And then the other part of this goal setting that we were talking about was H, which has to do with health. Now, health-wise, we were talking about trying to get into exercise. And if you remember, you guys were doing softball. The softball season was starting. And so you've got goal setting in the beginning of the year. So one of the things that we were trying to do is make sure that you were setting goals for your family, how much time you're going to spend with your family, what kind of activities you're going to spend with your family. I, for investment, making sure that the money that you do get, you save, spend the proper way. School, what kind of grades you're going to get, and health. How healthy, how much time you're going to spend outside doing activities. And those are the things that we were teaching when you guys were small. Now, that still could go towards when you are in your 20s. You could change investment into other things like income, financial. And so you have to still make goals as to what your income or investment would be. Now, at this point, 24 years old, Miranda Paulos, Maria Paulos.
22.
Now, if you look at this, if you guys remember, and if you guys look at your age now, 22, 24 years old, graduated from college, I'm done with that. I'm actually glad that I don't have to go and try to figure out how am I going to pay for your colleges.
It's like it's
And so, when you talk about setting goals, when you're talking about setting goals for school, well, you could translate that and start setting your own goals for education, because I don't think you're ever going to stop learning. So you're still going to go ahead and make sure that you are going to get educated, either going back to school or taking classes. And the information out there is so easy to get now. I mean, there's YouTube. You could go to YouTube and get all the information. There's social media. But now I'm hoping you've gotten you're done with college and you've gotten your education. Hopefully you could filter that information and be able to make decisions based on the information that you're getting filtered. So now, as an introduction, Miranda Paulos, how long have you been out of college now?
2 years now.
And that's 2 years. So out of high school, going to college, what school did you go to?
UC Irvine. Zat.
And then Rhea Paulos graduated from,
UCLA.
and that was how long ago?
That was, I believe, 9 months ago.
Yeah, so if you notice, we live in California. We live in Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area, at the East Bay of San Francisco. We are in San Francisco Bay Area, the city of Dublin, the city of Pleasanton. My office is in the city of Dublin, and we live in the East Bay Area of Pleasanton. My kids went to the University of California, UCLA, and UC Irvine.
She's UCLA.
Yes.
I'm UC Irvine.
And I'm telling you, I'm just so glad that you guys are done with it. Because
I'm done too.
one of the things that your mom and I have done is try to go ahead and make sure that we're setting goals to get you guys educated, get out of college without any debt. And that's one of the challenges that most of the students, most of the kids getting out of school now, is that they are in debt getting out. So one of our goals was to get you guys out without having to owe any money. And now, if you remember, one of the things that I told you guys was, I'm going to make sure the best gift I could give you is no debt when you get out and a high credit score. Right? Mm-hmm. Now,
we got that.
Yeah. So in terms of goal setting, that is the goals that we've set for that investment that we've got. We've invested in you guys to make sure that when you do get out, you are out of debt with a high credit score. In terms of, like, if we're going to follow that FISH, FISH, the investment, the income part, that is the things that we do. Because when we were teaching you how to do this goal setting, I was doing that myself to make sure I go ahead and make my goals based on family, investment, school, education, and health. So if you notice, most of what we do, we try to go and eat healthy as much as we can, activities, making sure that we're moving. Because without being healthy, you cannot enjoy anything else that you are doing. And I think you guys are doing that now. You're trying to get that idea of goal setting with family, income, spiritual, and health. So those are the first things that we were trying to do when we're going ahead and starting the new year, especially starting this podcast. That is our main topic of this podcast, is setting goals for 2022 and setting goals in the mid-January, making sure that 2022 is what we would like it to be. Now, anything that you guys would like to add in how you've set your goals?
I like focusing on like 1 to 2 big goals, and those are typically my big goals for the year. Like, I think 2 years ago, 2020, my 2 main goals was to save $10,000 and to work out more consistently. And I did that, and that's helping me throughout these next years. And last year, my big 2 goals was to continue saving money, to save even more money, and to start a podcast. And I did those 2 things. So I always just focus on 2 things, 2 big things in my year, and then I try to follow through on that.
Yes. No, I really see that. You know, I'm proud of Miranda here because she's actually, I go through I go through the house, and then when we go through and start cleaning up, I see these little notes in your room, and I'm going, wow. Did you get that from like listening to the other people's podcast or setting goals? Because I think what you're trying to do when you go and set those things is just to remind yourself, what is it that I'm going to do, and making sure that that's always in front of you. Now, that's just a good habit. Now, anything that you're doing, Ray?
For me? Well, I just have a big goal in mind, but then I start small. Just starting to build up myself to try to reach that goal. That's like my thing. Like, I think every opportunity that comes, you just grab it, and then hopefully that will reach you to your goal. That's what my thinking is. I don't know. I'm kind of like a mess. So
No, you're not a mess. I've seen you. I think what you're doing is just
You're figuring it out.
yeah.
figuring it out.
And that's okay.
You're just figuring. Now, one of the things now I think, and you've heard this before, is just being self-aware, knowing who you are, knowing where you're at, and then be aware of who you are. Because if you know who you are, you get rid of you are able to filter things a little bit easier because of where you want to go, because you know who you are and your limitations and your strength, right? So now, I think right now, in early 20s, you guys are what they're calling you guys millennials?
I think so. Millennials, or is it Gen Z? I think
Well,
we're on the cusp.
I think they would. No, I think they would call you guys millennials because of you guys. When you were born, 1997,
99.
99. So 97, 99. And I'm at the end. I'm probably the younger baby boomers because of when you look at baby boomers, they were probably born. The latest one was probably born 1964. Just a little background of myself. I am an immigrant here to the United States. I wasn't born in the United States. I was born in the Philippines. I came here when I was 9 years old, and going through immigrating to the United States, and then going through high school, just knowing what I want to do, setting goals, got me to the point where now I'm been in practice for 30 years doing dentistry. And then one of the things that I hear from people is, when are you going to retire? Those are the questions.
That's a good question.
Those are the questions that I get from my patients. Now, you're probably going to get questions of the things that for millennials, the question that you get would be, what are you doing? Right? Or what do you want to do? But
What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know what that
I don't even know what
I'm trying to figure it out.
No, but that's what I'm saying. See, so there's a difference between in this table, this round table that we've got, you've got a 57-year-old person, you've got a 24-year-old young female, 22-year-old just graduated from college, and we're gonna have different questions that is given to us. And then when people ask me, because I get that now, and I'm thinking like, why are you asking me when am I going to retire? I'm not even thinking about retirement. I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I like what I do so much that, and I don't even consider dentistry for me as work or job. It's something that I actually like to do, and I don't mind doing what I do. So, and I don't see myself retiring from dentistry. I think I'm going to be doing that as long as I can. And so
I think that's the goal, for people to find something like that. But I feel like it's hard for people to find
Yeah.
They
that
have
kind
to
of
find
career.
something that they don't mind the work and the struggle. Like, it's not work for them. That's what you've done. You go
Yeah.
to the office 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and like you're
For fun.
for fun.
Yeah, for me, going to the dental office is not work. It's really something I enjoy doing, and it's not even. I don't know if you know this, but I was there for everything that you guys did. You know, I made my own schedule when there was a softball game, when there was a piano recital or singing recital or Christmas events. I was there all the time. You know, I'm the one that took the videos.
Oh yeah.
So if you're thinking like we've got a lot of videos, and if you're like, oh, where's that video? You ask me, I get it like that. I know where it's at. And so I was there in all the events. I was there when you guys were born. I was the one that was taking the videos. I didn't miss anything. So if you guys were thinking like you're at the dental office all the time, yeah, I'm at the dental office all the time because I like being there. But if I needed to leave the dental office, I can leave anytime. I make my own time. So I didn't miss anything that you guys went through from preschool through college to graduation. You know, like I said, I really enjoyed the most joyful graduation I've ever been to was the UCLA graduation. I mean, what a beautiful campus, UCLA. What a beautiful. I would have went there if I got accepted to UCLA.
Rhea went there, but she didn't go there.
Yeah, well, you know, just because of the pandemic.
The reason why he says it was a really good graduation is because I just walked on stage and off.
Yeah,
That's it.
It was the best because it was so quick. You know, I've been to so many graduations that was the best because it was so quick. You know, I just wish that all the graduation was like that.
Oh, yeah.
But if like I said, one of the things that we're trying to do here is trying to get to the point where the questions that you guys are having or you guys will get are gonna be different from the questions that I get. But there are hopefully certain wisdom that I could give you based on the experiences that I've had and the questions that I've answered before. So that's why I was thinking. If you look at the questions that you guys got now, what are the main questions that millennials that we'll call you guys, young adults, young 20s, that you guys are going through? Because of, you know, nobody has all the answers. Nobody. And then you're always searching for that answer all the time. So most of us, we're gonna make a decision, and then you got to make sure that you stick with that decision and move forward with it. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is that when you do make that decision, it's an easy decision, and that's why I was saying part of that is being self-aware, knowing who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses are, and if you need help, you got to make sure that you're asking for help so that you could go ahead and move forward to that goal that you're trying to get. Now, what kind of question do you have at this stage of being a young 22-year-old?
I usually get, oh, what are you doing right now? Did you graduate from college? Oh, you did? And then they're like, oh, you're going to do like your master's or something? Are you going to be a dentist? And then I'm just like, oh, no. But I think also it's just like, yeah, what are you doing right now? Like, where do you work? And what type of projects do you have coming for us? And I think that's just like, oh my gosh, like what do I have plans? But then that's when I just have to focus on what I want in the long run, you know? So then, yeah.
I think the question that always is the first question that older people ask young people is like, oh, how's work? How's school? And that's the only thing that is the most interesting about it.
But then like also they go into the personal stuff like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? And like I was like, oh no. But then or how's da doing? That's two. So yeah, it's like a mix of work or like anything like achievement wise and relationships.
Oh, that's interesting. That's true. I didn't even realize that.
They're like wondering, oh, are you gonna be alone or are you making money? And yeah.
That's the only thing. I mean, I think that's because like what other question would you ask a person? Because I don't even know. I would be like, I don't know what I would ask if I was asking a younger person. That's like always the first question is either school or like, do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys are not alone in that type of questions. Everybody's getting that question. But I'll tell you this: one of the things that I've learned growing through school and having a dental career is that one of the easy things that you could do just to make sure that you could have a good conversation is using an acronym F.O.R.M, F-O-R-M. So now, have you heard that before?
Dad likes acronyms, I guess. No,
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Well, you guys went to college already, so you know sometimes you have to have some technique on learning how to memorize, right? Because when you're in a test, sometimes you're trying to figure how am I going to remember this? So that's why when I taught you guys how to do that goal setting, which is FISH, you could always go back to that and say, okay, I'm supposed to go ahead and make goals this year, and then you go through that F-I-S-H. Now, when I'm talking about when you're having a conversation, now we're going into F-O-R-M, F-O-R-M. Now, what do I mean by that? One of the things that if you want to have a conversation with somebody and you want to ask them and you want to know them, F-O-R-M. What you want to do is ask them about family. F. Family. So what you want to do is...
Oh, I've never heard this one.
What you want to do
Excited
is...
now.
Yeah, what you want to do is if you go into a party, if you go into a situation where, you want to go ahead and get to know somebody, one of the things that you want to ask them is, how's their family? Mm-hmm. And part of that is, do you have a boyfriend? Mm-hmm. Right? How's your family? How's your mom? Mm-hmm. How's your parents? How's your sisters? How's your brothers? And then if they want to talk to you, they'll tell you about their family. Mm-hmm. And then you want to be truly engaged and really, want to get to know them. You don't want to just go ahead and ask them without really getting to know them. But you want to ask that question, really knowing who they are. The other one is occupation. Oh, occupation. What do you do? What do you want to be? So if you were wondering, how do I start a conversation? Ask them about their family. Mm-hmm. F. Ask them about their occupation. O. Mm-hmm. Where do you work? Right. One of the things that you want to try to avoid is, how much do you make? So, I would tell your mom, don't ever ask that. That's just like asking.
She would be the person to ask.
That would be just like, what did you get? What's your grade point average? Mm-hmm. Do not ask that. That is just not the thing that you want to ask. Mm-hmm. But you want to ask, where do you work? What do you want to do? That's occupation. And the R is recreation. Oh. What do you like to do besides work? What do you like to do for exercise? Right? Mm-hmm. Recreation. Or if you know that person, how's playing tennis? How is skiing? Mm-hmm. Right? And if you ask them about what they do in recreation and they want to talk to you, they're going to tell you what they do. And so in a conversation, most of the conversation has to be more of listening instead of talking. Mm-hmm. And so when you go ahead and start a conversation and you're using that form, F-O-R-M, you want to go ahead and ask them about their family, their occupation, and what they do in their free time, their recreation, right?
What about M? You
M,
didn't say that one.
Yes. M stands for message. Okay. Right? Now, when you have a message, whatever message that is, any message that you've got, or a message could be, I ask these questions because I want to get to know you. I want to know who you are. That could be a message. Or a message of when they say about family or recreation, this is what I do to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. Right? That could be the message. What is the message based on that conversation? So if you want to say message, you could say a message of health. Mm-hmm. Health in mind, body, and spirit. Right? Mm-hmm. And so if you do that, you could have a good conversation with somebody, getting to know them. And then if you do know them, and if you know yourself, like I said, it's more self-awareness. One of the things that you're going to have to find out as a young 20-year-old and then going into your 30s is really trying to figure out who you are. Mm-hmm. Self-awareness. You've already done the college thing. I'm not sure if you guys are going to go beyond college. I personally don't think you need to go beyond just regular college anymore.
Beyond the undergrad, that's what
yes, if you want to go ahead and get your master's because that's what you want to do, that's fine. You want to go and get MD, DDS, or pharmacy or nursing, that's fine too. But just knowing what you want to do, knowing who you are, and being able to go ahead and go through that, because of there's always still challenges when you go through that. But most of what we do now is being able to get you through preschool to college. I mean, that's most what parents try to do. They don't go in and start saying, I think you need to go get your master's or something like that. Mm-hmm. But you always hear that. You'll hear that. Now, another thing that we talked about was, and I don't know if you remember, why... do you remember when I say, if you are going to go to school, what is going to school and getting an education for?
I know. Problem solving and discipline.
Yes. Yeah. So when I think, and I think if you go to school, as parents, I think if you go to school, what we're trying to do is we're hoping that, and we're not even asking you, telling you need to be this major. I think if you could get out of school problem solving, discipline, I think you're on your way to going to school worthwhile, right? Mm-hmm. But another thing of going to school is, and anybody who's hearing this who ever sent their kid to preschool, because you start thinking like, what's the importance of going to preschool? Because most parents, they send their kids, I think, and that's the reason why we've sent you to preschool, is for socialization. So if you really think of education that way, without putting too much pressure on kids to major in anything, hopefully they have learned how to socialize, they have learned to discipline themselves, and they have learned to problem solve without ever asking, what's your GPA? Right? Because those are important. They're important for a lot of reasons. But what's more important is that you are socialized, you get along with others, you are able to problem solve, because you could take that beyond school, right? And discipline. Discipline means, just like today, when I said, we're going to do this podcast. And then you have to be true to your word, right? And I'm telling you, if you put some time, and you're true to your word, you actually do things. Because if I said we're not going to do this, or if I said, let's just do it whenever, it's never going to get done. So part of what you want to make sure that you know, and then hopefully, and I think you've done, going through school, you are disciplined, you are a problem solver, and you get along with people. You are able to socialize. So,
and I also think that you don't need to go to school to do that past high school too. I feel like people also can learn that outside of college as well.
no, of course. Of course.
Well, if you didn't go to college, that's okay, as long as you got those three things.
Yeah, you can learn all this, but you can learn this without school. What my suggestion, but then you can still, hopefully you're learning this in preschool. You know how to socialize, you know how to share, right? You know how to problem solve, and then get up at 7 o'clock when school starts. That's discipline. Because if you don't have school, you don't have preschool, well, you'll wake up anytime. There's no discipline. So if you could only get that from preschool, and if you could get that from college, when you have a class and you've taken a class and you said, my class starts at 9, you are disciplined to be there at 9, right? So that's why I was saying that I think school teaches you that, preschool to college, and then after that, you're taking that to your workplace, you're taking that to society, so that you're able to get along with people, you're able to problem solve, because there's going to always be problems and challenges, and you know how to discipline. You are disciplined. You know how to discipline yourself to say, I'm going to be there at 9 o'clock. Or I'm going to be done with this. You're disciplined to your word, and you're disciplined to the time. So that's why I was saying that I think preschool to college, if you could get those three things without having to say, what's your major? Or what's your GPA? It's important, but it's not as important as if you were able to get problem solving skills, socialization skills, and being disciplined, right? So today we've talked about setting goals and using acronyms of FISH to start with, and then you could create your own from now on. Because I remember being able to go and teach you guys that, just knowing that you guys were able to do that and setting goals that way. And then the other one would be F.O.R.M, F.O.R.M. And being able to go ahead and then talk to people and then converse with them and then be interested in people and then be self-aware of yourself, so that at least that way you could have a good conversation. And then what's the other one? What you could get from school?
Oh, socialization, discipline, and problem solving.
Yes. So I think, we started out this podcast being able to introduce ourselves, Arnold Paulos, Miranda Paulos, Rhea Paulos, and we are different generation of baby boomers, millennials, and then being able to go ahead and what do you do beyond wisdom, beyond being 20s, beyond being 30s. So, most of the things that we're going to be talking about in our podcast is going to be things that, questions that people have when they're 20, 30, 50, 60 years old have. But a lot of it is going to be from the wisdom that I've gotten based on experience that I've had in knowing what I've done and what others have done, and making sure that I could answer the question that you guys have. So, what we'll do to end these podcasts would be questions, and I think we've already done in the beginning. But what would a millennial? Because that's what we're calling you guys. And if we're wrong, I think that's what you guys are, because of that turning of 2000, from 1997, 1999, and into 2000. That's you guys. That's why I said that's a millennial generation, because that's 20-something years ago, right? And so the question is, again, we'll do it again, because I think you guys had that question. What is a pressing question that a millennial have that you've known, that you've heard?
A pressing question?
Yeah, anything that you're thinking, what or where?
Ooh, I got one that I always hear is like when people ask themselves is like, what is my purpose? I always hear that one.
Yeah.
I always ask myself that sometimes.
So you're
Like,
getting that as a millennial? You're getting what's your purpose at 24 years old?
And I think that's what other millennials ask themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's about? And that's basically what I'm saying. Self-awareness, right? You are trying to find out who you are at 24 years old. Now, anything that is that another one?
I think for me, it's what's my next step.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's true.
So
That's
see,
good.
but then see, I'm actually thinking that that's what people have struggled with is self-awareness, finding out who they are. What's my next step, and what's my purpose? I think that's something that you guys are going to try to find out this next few months, this 2022. And then you know what we'll be doing is we'll do this a few times a month until we get a good schedule. We're going to be doing this at least 2 times a month, right? And then stay tuned. Get your podcast wherever you get it. Now, where does people get most of their podcast?
Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Look us up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Apple Podcasts or Spotify is the main ones.
And the title of our podcast would be
Beyond wisdom.